guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of New Jersey. This is season 13. I don't know which episode, but it's part 1 of the reunion. So let's get into it. Okay, y'all gonna have to bear with me because I've been trying to film this for like a good hot minute, and I'm also tired of this show. I watched this reunion just to get through it, so I could get this review out, so I could complete the season. But I don't care no more about New Jersey, and it's sad because New Jersey used to be one of my favorite Real Housewives like franchise, but this family feud has the expiration date on this feud is years old, and at this point this feud is rancid. It's stale, it's old. I don't want it anymore. I want to throw it in the garbage and I want to move on. Like, them pausing this show actually, in my opinion, was one of the pauses that I actually agree with. Like, I didn't agree with New York, but I agree with this one because where are we going after this? I watched this reunion, like, I don't know where we going. What I would want to see is I want them to get rid of both Melissa and Teresa. Like, I'm over it. I am so over it. I feel like we could move on with Rachel, Margaret, Dolores, Jennifer, and Danielle, and then add in Jackie and Jennifer Fessler and move on, and maybe drop in 1 or 2 new people. But I feel at this point, there's no there's no need to continue with them. You know, Teresa has a loyal following. The tree huggers gonna follow that lady to the ends of the earth. And, you know, they showed up and showed out for her wedding special. She almost had 1 million views, and people are not doing that anymore, especially reality stars by themselves are not doing that anymore. So her following is strong. It's a strong following. I don't know about Melissa and her podcast. I don't know if her following is strong, but I feel like at this point, Melissa do her podcast, Teresa does, she does what she does. She does her whatever she's going to do after this. But I just feel like it's time to let them go. It's time to let them go. All right, y'all. So the episode opens up and we're at the reunion, and Andy gets right into it and starts talking about Teresa's wedding. We know that was the episode before the reunion. It was like, Teresa gets married or something like that. And pretty much he just starts, why wasn't Dina at your wedding, girl? Like, you and Dina used to be attached at the hip, y'all was like peanut butter and jelly. Like, what's going on? And Teresa's like, me and Dina are fine, and Dina's man has never went into business with Louis, pretty much trying to refute the claims of what Joe said during the season about Dina's man getting into a business dealing with Louis and getting shafted. Like, Joe feels he got shafted by Louis. Melissa speaks up and she's like, yeah, Joe should not have shared that. That was out of pocket because that was a private conversation. But she does not deny the claims that no, Dina's man went into business with Louis and they got the short end of the stick. So we then hop over to this conversation where Teresa brings up about how they never really were there for her. They never reached out to her or invited her to dinner or things like that, mainly pertaining to Melissa and Joe. But then she got caught in a lie because they showed pictures of Teresa hanging out with them and with other people. And then Teresa switches it to be like, well, they only invited me out once. So Melissa's like, here, this is how Teresa is. When you cool, she got you. When you're not cool anymore, she discards you and moves on and talks negatively about you. So they then get on the topic of Louis. And then it was funny because no one noticed Margaret being like, well, he tried to talk to Alexia. And then Melissa picked it up, but Margaret did it underneath her breath. And I was like, it just tickled me because one of my mutuals was talking about how it would be so funny if Margaret is really trying to get both Melissa and Teresa off this show so she could reign supreme without them. And I was like, it's kind of looking like that. Like, I would give that lady a round of applause if her evil plan worked. If her plan worked. Because even when they did the after show, Margaret was the one doing the after show by herself. Teresa was sitting next to Dolores. Melissa was sitting next to Rachel. If they were supposed to be like the HBICs of this show, why aren't they sitting solo talking by themselves with the producers? Why is Margaret sitting by herself talking to the producers? I said, oh, Margaret playing the long game. I think this pause is totally going to work in her favor. Like, I low-key think they about to gag us and get rid of both of them, or give Teresa her own show, or Melissa and Teresa their own show together, or something like that. But genuinely, I think they about to get booted, y'all. I really do think they're about to get the boot. So they continue to the next conversation where they talk about Dolores, and they talk about Dolores and her relationship with Polly and how it's different from David. And pretty much she said, my life with Polly is intertwined. That's why I moved in with him. My life with David was not like that. You know, he was a dedicated doctor. We find out that Frank is still living with David, which is weird to me because it's giving roommate, and Frank is almost 60 years old. Why do you need a roommate at your big age? You seem to be like a contractor. You're building homes. Unless you just want to be roommates, which is weird to me because that's not your man. Why do you need to live with somebody? And then I'm looking at Brittany, who's Frank's girlfriend. And I'm like, girl, you're in your mid-30s or your early 30s. If you have your own place and this grown man doesn't have his own place, that make better decisions. Frank should at least have an apartment by himself. Like, I would feel so awkward going to my man's house who is in his 60s, and I walk down the stairs and I'm going to the kitchen and I see David, his roommate. that doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense to me. Like, I was like, what is this? What is this? We then have the conversation about alliances on the show, which is crazy to me because you can tell that the fandom has seeped into the show. So we then get on to Danielle and her situation with her brother, and then Margaret and all of that, and Rachel and stuff. And pretty much Danielle is telling us that, like, unfortunately her grandmother passed away, and then the day they were filming the reunion, it was the wake. So the day after that was the actual funeral. And she was like, I'll be seeing my brother then. Like, I haven't seen him since. We haven't spoken in almost 3 years. The last time I tried to reach out to him, I sent him like a gift, and they returned it back to me. So it's like, I don't know where we go from here. So then Andy asks Margaret, like, don't you think you was going a little too hard on her after you see the conversation that was had between Rachel and Danielle? And Margaret was like, yeah, it was a lot, but like, I stand on how I felt. And my thing about it is, I do think Rachel was in the wrong. I felt like Rachel running back or scurrying back to tell Margaret about what was said was wrong, because it wasn't like the girl was talking trash about her. Granted, none of us like for others to talk negatively about us, but pick and choose your battles. The girl was not dragging Margaret's name through the mud. She wasn't like dog walking her. She just was like, yeah, I think she got an arsenal on everybody. It would be different if she started being like, oh girl, I heard this, and all this stuff about her. But she was just making her statement was an observation based off of the information she's heard from other people. The same way we all make critiques or judgments about people based off of other things or actions or things that we've heard about other people. So I do think Rachel was in the wrong for that. Margaret had every right to have feelings about what was said about her because it was said about her, but she was doing too much. And Danielle, should Danielle have said what she said? No, not really. When you're new to this group and Margaret has been helping you out, you look fake. You look like why are you taking this help from her? Then Teresa pipes up about never getting help from Margaret, and I'm like, girl, you don't like Margaret, so why does it matter? Why does it matter that she helped Danielle? But the conversation continues. They then play the clip of when Margaret cracked Danielle's face and had her running up them stairs in Ireland crying in the bathroom. And Margaret was like, yeah, she was like, I guess I was a little triggered when Danielle said, you may forgive, but you never forget. Even, excuse me, y'all. Even Jennifer was like, yeah, like that is true. Then Melissa gonna raise her hand and be like, well, no, I do that all the time. I forgive and never forget. And then Teresa does the same thing. Neither one of y'all do that. Neither one of Melissa or Teresa does that. Y'all get triggered and then y'all bring up the stupid stuff that's happened in the past to justify your anger and the vitriol y'all have to each other and the venom you spew. So for both of them to be like, oh, I forgive and forget. What the hell are we talking about? What are we talking about? And then for Melissa to be like, we're on the delusional train. Both of y'all are delusional at this point. Both of y'all sound stupid at this point. Both of y'all sound crazy at this point. So what are we talking about? So then Rachel and Danielle get into it, where Rachel is like, you know, Danielle, you don't really take accountability. Like, you're not even trying to take accountability for the way you've treated me. You've been an asshole and a bitch to me this whole entire season. And Danielle's like, I'll take accountability when I know what I did was wrong in the situation with my brother. But for me and you, definitely not, because I do think you've been a bitch and an asshole to me. And then Rachel says something about Danielle being insecure or something to that effect. And that's when Danielle's like, my balls drag out the door. What are you talking about? I was like, girl, I don't understand, but okay. So then they did that conversation, and then we move on to like the whole situation with Jennifer and Margaret, because Margaret kind of makes a dig at Jennifer, but she wasn't really coming at Jennifer. She was still talking to Danielle, and then about the whole endorsement things, because they start talking about Danielle's bougie kids thing. And then that's when I realized that Andy really don't like Jennifer. He really does not like Jennifer, because I just saw the clips for the next part of the reunion where he pretty much is like, she'll tire herself out. Like, he does not like Jennifer, because Jennifer tries to be like, y'all in this endorsement things. Like, I don't need endorsements. You know, Andy doesn't even have that many endorsements. I don't see him posting about him. And Andy's like, well, I do have endorsements and I do post about him. And because then Jennifer's like, I stay dripping in Chanel, honey. And like, y'all know I love Jennifer, but Jennifer had a shitty season this season. Like, her season sucked. Like, girl, you nosedive. Like, you started off really high when she made that comment about Dolores and the leather handbag thing, but you took a nosedive, and I don't know if you ever gonna come back from it. But it's clear as day that Andy doesn't like Jennifer. Clear as day that Andy doesn't like Jennifer, because every time she was trying to make a point or have a moment, Andy cut her off, or he rolled his eyes, or he tried to move the conversation along because he didn't want to hear what she had to say. So we get to the point of Melissa versus Teresa. So they start bringing up about the whole kids situation. And my thing about it is, both of them are wrong. Both of them are wrong. Y'all don't have a good relationship. You shouldn't, even if you got something nice to say, you should not bring up the kids, because y'all are not at a place where y'all can speak about each other's children and not one person take it shady. Melissa with the whole, like, I put food on your kids' table, that was disrespectful, because you basically said without me, your kids wouldn't eat. And if those girls felt some type of way and they remembered that period in their life and who showed up for them, and they are saying, girl, you was never there for them, I'm gonna believe the children before I believe you, because they are the ones that had to deal with their mom and their dad going to jail. That they had to deal with that. And then for Melissa to be like, they had hate in their heart for me, maybe they do. That's your fault. You've been on this show for several seasons, going back and forth with their mother. Why would you not think they would not like you? And if Antonia, Joey, and the other kids did not like Teresa, they have every right not to like Teresa too, because that is your fault for Teresa to be going back and forth and saying disparaging things about their mom. Like, these kids have been living in this for the past 14 years of y'all not liking each other. Of y'all being on a reality show talking cash money trash about each other, and would you think they would not like each, like, what, you thought they was gonna welcome you with open arms? I know if anybody is talking shit about my mom, I'm not cool with them, or my dad, I'm not cool with you. It will ever be, we got beef. So if they don't like you, they don't like you. That is ultimately a you problem, because y'all are the adults in this situation, and y'all have not taken the initiative to create an environment for them to actually actively be like you people. Like, and I also hate how the fans have seeped into these kids' lives, because someone posted a cute little pic, I think it was Melania or Antonia, of them at prom together. They look like mini Teresa and mini Melissa. And people were in the comments like wanting to have beef between children. They're 16. They're 16 and they're cousins. I hope they stay connected and they say F my parents, because at this point, y'all are the issue. All 4, 5, and whoever else wants to be a part of this carousel of madness are the issue. They then get to into the episode. Andy asks Jennifer about Laura being at her end of the year party, and Jennifer's like, yeah, she was there. And then Jennifer's like, well, Margaret, why didn't you want your friend on the show? Margaret is like, girl, y'all are giving me too much credit. I'm not NBC Universal. I don't have that pool to not have people on this show. And then that's when Teresa pipes up and says, brings up the whole thing about, y'all got on this show to beef with me, because Andy brings up how, you wouldn't think we would want someone on the show to beef with Margaret. And then Teresa was like, well, that's how Melissa and Joe got on the show. And then Andy's like, no, we got them on the show because, she was cute. He was funny. They had the same double staircase as y'all. We thought it would be a moment. And Jennifer is like, well, y'all just need to hash this out because it seems to be an issue. You got Dolores under her breath like, I'm tired of this story. Ain't we all, girl? Ain't we all? And then that's when Teresa says something about, well, they're the reason why I went to jail. And then Melissa's like, well, you said it was Caroline Manzo. Now it's us. And she's like, yeah, because Joe's business partner, I guess, told them, or Jacqueline told them that, like, they snitched on her. And that's where the episode ends. Yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic. Apologies if this was all over the place, but like I told y'all, I'm over it. But remember to be bravely authentic. Again, drop down in them comments below and subscribe if you like what you heard. Deuces.